The phrases tortured character and Roblox game typically never appear in the same sentence. However, the case we are working with is unique. Hello everyone and welcome to a very interesting lore video. You see, violence is a very interesting thing, as most beings, at least indoors, aren't violent for no reason. For example, the Grumbles try to kill you as you are invading into their territory, and Seek tries to kill you so it can expand its ever-growing body mass. However, there's one Doors entity who doesn't really have a reason to be so dangerous, one who appears to be hostile for no other reason other than to hurt, and that is Figure. The reasoning behind the aggression of this entity was always a mystery to me, but I think I figured it out. You see, my viewers, I believe that Figure, despite the physical strength and stature presented on their outside, is actually in a cycle of non-stop torture, forced to be in agonizing pain for all eternity. And that is what I want to discuss in this video. So with all of that being said, let's begin. Alright, so I'm sure many casual and advanced players remember this iconic Guiding Light dialogue line, as I definitely do. Upon your second death to Figure, Guiding Light will state it may be blind, but its other senses far surpass yours. Now, in total, there are 5 senses which beings can experience, those being sight, smell, hearing, taste, and touch. As many of you already know, Figure is completely blind, so their sense of sight is out of the question, but I believe that all of their other senses, except maybe taste because that is useless, actually hinders the entity rather than helps them. Let's start with the least extreme and move up the list to excruciating pain, starting with smell. As Guiding Light stated, every other sense other than sight is enhanced, and although at first a better sense of smell could seem like a good thing, in the case of Figure it likely works against them. If you recall, El Goblino states that the closer you get to room 100, the worse the hotel smells, and this is implied to be the result of the rotting flesh piles seen on the ground, the same flesh which makes up the body structure of Figure. So, given how Figure quite literally is made of decaying meat, they're forced to inhale that smell wherever they go, with no real method of making it go away, as it is just a part of them. Now, Figure smelling their own body odor for all eternity may not seem like much, but this only scratches the surface of what is to come. Moving on, let's talk about the sense of touch. Now, typically with most creatures, having an enhanced feeling of your surroundings could be pretty beneficial. However, in the case of Figure, it is everything but that. If you recall, Figure is made of decaying and exposed tissue. They are essentially one giant wound. And, like most wounds, that on its own has got to hurt. But you know what hurts more than just having an injury? Having another object, like a rock, touch that injury. Both of these feelings of pain are enhanced to insane levels because of Figure's strengthened sense of touch. This means that every single step, every single brush against a wall, even doing absolutely nothing, causes Figure to be in excruciating pain due to him just being a giant injury. Lastly, we have Figure's strengthened sense of hearing. This is one which Figure relies on the most, as it is used for them to locate basically anything in their environment. Now, at face value, this just seems to be beneficial to the entity, like it is a saving grace which allows them to actually function and move around despite their blindness. However, given the evidence in the game, I actually believe their sense of hearing works against the entity more than it helps. Now, obviously, Figure's sense of hearing allows them to locate players, but have you ever noticed what they do to players? You see, most entities are aggressive towards us to eat us, as confirmed by El Goblino. We are essentially the prey to any creature in this game. However, when Figure catches us, we aren't eaten at all, but instead just ripped apart. This can also be seen with how Figure interacts with other entities, such as Giggle. On the rare occasion that a Giggle ends up in the same room as Figure, they will hear its laughing and stomp it to death instead of eating it. In fact, Figure attacks anything that makes a sound, including inanimate objects such as the fallen lamp in the library and the alarm clock item. This isn't done as a method of hunting food, as anything destroyed isn't consumed by the entity. They just seem to be hostile for no apparent reason, which was what I mentioned at the start of this video. Now, at first I was confused as to why this may be the case, but then I realized something shocking. What if Figure's hearing is too strong, and anything slightly loud would send them into excruciating pain due to how loud he perceives it? This would explain why Figure is so quick to shut down anything which produces noise, as even small amounts can cause them immense agony, as they view it as being extremely loud. It seems to fit as a nice explanation for their behaviors. All three of these heightened senses, smell, touch, and hearing, likely cause immense and constant discomfort or just straight up agony. So it's no wonder why figures are always running around screaming and destroying anything in their path. They are essentially being tortured for just existing, which causes their hostility towards us as well as anything else. I also forgot to mention this, but these heightened senses may also be the reason why figure groans in pain when just walking around, and why they let out a blood-curdling scream upon hearing you, as that is their response to the pain they feel from their heightened senses of touch and hearing respectively. It kind of is pretty sad when you really think about it, but there really isn't anything we can do to help them, as even getting too close to the entity would cause us to be ripped to shreds. So, to summarize, given figure's strength and senses, I believe that this entity is actually experiencing intense pain 24/7, which explains why they are so hostile. Now, I would like to mention that this is just a theory, so take everything with a grain of salt, but I do see this as being a very likely explanation for this entity's behaviors, and if this does happen to be the case, then Figure could just be one of the most tortured and misunderstood characters in all of Roblox. But with all of that being said, let me know in the comments what your thoughts are over this theory, and thank you all for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.